of a couple of having engaged in a couple of activities, and then take questions or comments from you, and have you talk to each other about whatever homework assignments you may have, you may be able to complete over the week, the weekend, and then start a new topic. Questions before we begin? Okay, for the first activity, I'd like each of you to come up here and look at what you see on that desk over there. But you really have to come here, okay, here. Gesture use of that, please. Here, okay. I don't want you to look at it from there, but from here, okay? So please, all of you, come here and then go back to your seat.
看啥的？要是看那个东西啊。你过去看一下，你在那儿瞅一眼，然后就回来。看一看，你有什么想法？
没有，他那边就是按着just reuse the voice. 什么意思？
And try and remember what you can see. It shouldn't be very difficult, but
该说啥子？怎么说？
你就说我看到了2个三角形的纸。你啷过来？你走过来。
你们没有那个，
哪个？
就是按手语那个。
没有，你好久？
我26。
29。他13。
你早上
我没有，我不晓得，现在没有。
我看我买了一个。
from my point of view, you can remove it if you like.
Okay, I'm looking from this direction and doing the same.
You can't see, but okay, maybe you can. Yes, you see part C, okay? Another triangle, okay? Okay, but let's imagine that I don't trust you. Prove it to me that you're right. Prove it to me that it is A that fits that shape. So you can remove it now.
I can remove?
Yeah, it's just some scotch tape.
Okay, we just can take it, remove it, and just apply this part here. So if you feel
Okay, remove also C together and show everyone. Okay. Now place them back, both, and do it again, slowly. Okay, let me show you what she saw on the chair is another triangle called C in this shape, except that it's lying horizontally, okay, on the chair. Place them one on top of the other and show everyone that you're right. Okay, would you agree, that what she did was accurate? Imagine it's an IQ test. Yeah. Would you agree? You remember what you saw? Would you agree? No. John, why not?
It's B.
Well, place them back and let's have let's have John prove you wrong, maybe, or prove us wrong. Then you have to get back here. You're not allowed to change rules, young man. What do you think you're called? Do not define my authority.
May I?
You may. Now, who's right and who's wrong?
Both.
Why?
People are always right.
People are always right? Is that what you said? Yes, thank you.
Customers always
Okay. Luckily, my professor didn't put me to the test. He just showed me a video, so I saw others, But I would have behaved like Anastasia and not like John. I would have said, okay. I would have made myself the dialectic center of position and movement. But someone from a strange tribe in Australia who doesn't have dialectic words said, this is what? Is it west? This is pointing west. And west it is. Okay? Remember that I told you the anecdote, what happened to the boat? It capsized. It capsized. Not it capsized with respect, but it capsized with respect to, I guess, east. So no matter which way I am turning, east is always east. Okay. So if you are dialectically centered, as most of us are you sure you're not from Australia? Maybe. Maybe. Well, everyone who's in Australia, obviously knows where. Yeah. Okay, now I need two other volunteers, let's say not always the same people, who will understand here for a few seconds. Two people. Hello? Yes. And your name is? Tom? Okay. One more person is here. One more person. Okay. Now, no, so stand here. You take my place here. You stand here. Okay. And your name is? Elisa. Elisa. Now, everyone, how would you define Elisa's position with respect to time? How would you put it into words?
across from.
No, a full sentence.
Elisa is on the right of Tim.
Okay. From your perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you said, or rather, give me a full sentence.
They are standing across from each other.
No, I said, tell me about her,
Okay.
Elisa.
She's standing across from, I don't know, honey.
10.
10.
Other options?
Elisa is standing opposite to Tim.
Opposite? 10. Other options?
Elisa is in front of Tim.
Okay. And John, one more option?
I didn't hear that one, but Elisa
Oh,
is
can you repeat? Sorry.
Elisa is in front of.
Elisa is in front of 10. And you?
facing, Elisa's facing.
Okay. Now, Elisa, would you mind turning and facing the wall? Okay. Now, this, anyone, how would you describe Elisa's position with respect to 10?
Not across from anymore.
Not across from anymore. Okay. But
She's still in the front.
in front. Anything else?
Ahead of.
What about 10? Where is she with respect to Elisa?
She's behind.
Behind.
But she hasn't moved. Okay? So, again, now you can stand each the way you like. The thing is that one of the dimensions along which we decide which dative words to use is is orientation. One was laterality, that's what John picked up on when he said to the left, to the right, or the other. But one is orientation. And so knowing where the front is and where the back is determines the way in which we may choose to describe the position of individuals, entities, etc. Thank you both. It was not an IQ test. But the next one is, well, no, not really. But, okay. Imagine you have to set the table and the head waiter tells you you have to place the wine glass in front of the water glass or something like that. Now, where would you place one and the other? You can try physically, okay, try with 2 pens, okay, or 2 other small objects that you may have. And tell each other, if this were the wine glass and this were the water glass, and I have to place the wine glass in front of the water glass. And say, and this is where I would be sitting, so the guest would be sitting here. Where would the glasses go? Try and do it literally, and tell your, well, first think about it, then do it, and then check with your partner if you agree.
So, do you agree? This is the wine glass.
Choose.
This is the
You may do it together.
感觉很无聊
this is wine. This is water.
那个white wine glasses 就是喝葡萄酒的那种白葡萄酒的杯子嘛。
啊，葡萄酒的杯子和喝水的杯子嘛。但是
你那个是啥呀？
谷歌翻译，
哦，感觉好长。
你那个
I
也
wouldn't
是。
like this.
我那个我不是还说啥子？
我这个也很那个，也很不正确啊！他啥子跟我说是 Superman，那上头。
For you, it is behind or it is in front of.
我想搞变了。
所以红酒杯和白酒杯要放在餐具的右上角，水杯离客人最近，对。红酒杯放在白酒杯的后面。
No, it is behind. From my point of view, if I'm standing here, that would be
红酒
behind.
杯放在白酒杯的后面。我会把水杯放在这儿，
So,
红酒放这儿。不，对，红酒放这儿，白酒放最前面。因为它那个白酒，它是中国那种白酒吗？还是白葡萄酒？那这两个我喝的都差不多啊。就对我来说，我会把白葡萄酒放水杯、白葡萄酒杯、红葡萄酒杯这样子放。对，因为我要考虑我自己喝的频率。
yani wine wine
有没得已经按手印的有认识的？哪个？
Alan just
王爵航。
There's a couple that across from each other and
No, you have to assume that you're sitting,
就是
that
他
you're
已经
looking
按
at
了，
your setting
然后
from
他
the
是买
same
的24 年的。
他买的23年的，然后他不24年的。
不，
Yes.
in the context of culture of my country, people when drinking the wine or something, there's no water glass on the table. There's no.
Ah, okay.
So only the wine glass.
Okay, thank you. But one glass
就是能不能，
or
就是我们
more
是
glasses
10月29
anyway,
号
just
按，
one?
对吧？
Just one.
10月29
One
到
glass.
12月这一个月之内。
Okay, so you don't
因为
have
我们
this
啥都
problem.
不买，我们是没有保险的。然后他会不会 忍后这一段，他会不会叫你补2、3年的？我是这个意思。要的。
我有个朋友，他直接买了24年，然后他都把那个按手了。
没看，
没看过23年。
那应该可以，你问一下吧。
买24年，然后他
Water, wine. What should I do? Like this? No.
The other way around.
The other one. Why? I went like this first. Why is this wrong?
This should be the perspective of the waiter, maybe.
No, this is the waiter has to set the table, okay, for an official ceremony. I then, as the guest will be sitting here, okay? Like this. You may laugh, but once during, the COVID pandemic, I asked this question during a test, so online, and the student went like this and said, I think, you're worse off than me. When you sit there, do you really have the glass behind you? How can we prove each other right or wrong, or ourselves right or wrong? How can we convince someone, this is front? No, this is front. I tried to give you a hint with the two people here.
With
Yes.
relation to the water glass, you have to start from the water glass and then arrange them.
So we now have 3 glasses. I tried to simplify things for you guys. And someone told me, where? From where?
China.
In China, you don't have this problem because you only have 1 glass and you're lucky if you get it. No, that's what I'm adding. And that's, don't complain. Yes?
I think it has a lot to do with the general knowledge of setting the table, because usually the water glass is the first you put, and then the wine glass is the external one.
First. Okay, this is water. First and wine? Or first? I don't know. How do I know which one's first?
Because usually the water glass is different from the wine glass.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, although some of us, make faux pas, but if we have a little, this is water, this is wine, and I'm told you have to place the water glass in front of the wine glass. So, now they're side by side. Which way should I go? Like this or like this? And why?
You have background cultural knowledge of the Galileo.
Look, but if I tell you left and right, and I say, and we're sitting here, like this, you would know. Okay? Yes, your name?
Julia.
Julia.
So I would put like the glass of water here and the glass of wine behind, because for me, so the water must be in front of the wine, right?
Like this.
No, the opposite.
This is water.
Ah, okay, sorry. Yes, like this. Because the water is facing me, so it is in front of me, while the glass of wine is behind. So for me, it's like the water is
Okay,
also
you
in
use
front
3
of the wine.
deities, and it's very difficult there to develop. Behind, in front, facing. I need the north, the northwest. But very well. Mona?
You gave us an instruction, right? Put water in front of wine.
Yeah.
Okay, so as you said, the didactic center is the wine. So please move water just in front of the wine.
It is not in front now?
No,
Like this?
yes.
Okay. Any other comments? Yes.
Could it be the plate, where the plate is set up? You look at that, and that orientates us.
That was just to give us an idea, okay, of, to help us reason that we're facing the table like this. Yes, I don't remember.
it depends in what you mean with the in front of as well, because for someone can be behind and for someone can be in front of.
Okay, getting warmer. Getting warmer. Yes.
I think about what she said, that you put the water glass first. But by first, I mean like
Close to me.
it is
Or
near
first,
to, no, it is near to the person who's
near me.
supposed to die.
Yeah.
So then, like, so you put the water glass close to the person, and then the wine in front,
Further away.
like this.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, you're saying that the
So-
water glass must be in front of the wine glass. So why close to us?
I'm just following your instructions. Yeah. I'm the trainee. I'm the newly hired assistant waiter, and I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing. Yes.
I would say that ideally the glasses are facing the guest, and so the front is directed towards the guest. And so when we say that a water glass is supposed to be in front of the wine glass, it means it must be closer to the guest.
That's what I think she said.
Yeah.
So if this is water, like this.
Yes.
Okay. We will probably, die of thirst. Because the problem is that unlike people or houses or other entities, glasses have no front. They have no orientation, they have no front, different from the back, as in our case, or in the case of houses and buildings. We know where the front door is and the back door. They look different. So it depends on how we conceptualize the front and the back. So I might say, look, to me the front of the glass is where I see this nice logo, and so I can go from there. But if I think that the front is elsewhere from the glass, then my perspective will differ. So I can say in front of and behind, and place the things exactly in opposite directions and still be right, and I can prove you wrong anytime, and you can prove me wrong back anytime too. If there is no front, maybe, there are glasses for special occasions that do have front. Maybe they have, I don't know, the coat of arms painted, the aristocratic family or something. But the same goes for, where was, I don't know, the storeroom? Behind the tree. Why not in front of the tree? How do you know of a tree? What is the front and what is the back? Were there other comments? Yes.
It can be the same when you're talking with a friend and there is like a table or not like a wardrobe with some drawers, and you say the last
There is a what?
Wardrobe.
Okay.
With some drawers, and you say it's in the last one, and you meant like the third, but the other one is saying is the last
top or the
one, but
bottom?
yeah.
Well, that's why people who said, first, I said, yeah, but first starting from where?
Yeah.
If it's first starting from the place where I'm sitting, but if it's first starting from where the edge of the table is, so yes, in that case, it's the first one that you start from, but do I know if you're starting from the top or the bottom? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's always true when you say, the first drawer on the left. Yeah. Which one? Okay? So next time you go out to a restaurant, don't eat, just pay attention to how the table is set. Okay, I don't think last time we had the time to watch the video, the recap video for Diego about Deixis.
No.
I don't think we did. So I would like to show you that, so that you can remember a few things more easily. And this is our video.
Welcome. Let's look at an important aspect of pragmatics in the following.
Can you hear?
Let us species.
But,
What is like?
but I have a trick. I like it when I'm in charge of technology, which hardly ever happens. I'm usually at the mercy of it.
Axis? And what are the central deictic elements that are used for referencing? According to the German psychologist Karl Bühler, the method of relating to the spatial-temporal context of the utterance can be labeled as deixis, the Greek term for pointing with words. Deixis is basically a speaker-centered notion where the central person is a speaker. Well, here we have two speakers, speaker A and speaker B, where the central place is the speaker's location, and where the central time is the time at which the speaker utters a particular sentence or produces a particular utterance, and where the central discourse element is the one containing the speaker's utterance. Let us find out how these examples of this little dialogue are realized in an actual example. Well, here we have our four elements, our four deictic labels: time, place, and person. Let's now associate the elements of this short dialogue to these labels. Now, first of all, we can associate you with person deixis. This is clearly an element of discourse deixis. Here we have another you, another element that relates to a person. The same applies to me. Then that is another discourse deixis element, and before is clearly temporal, so it's time deixis. I, again, person deixis. Well, here relates to the place, and then is another element of time deixis. So this is how to analyze a little dialogue in terms of deictic elements. Let us now look at these types of deixis in more detail. Let's start with person deixis. Now, person deixis is normally realized by personal pronouns, and it is concerned with encoding the roles of the participants in the speech situation in which a given utterance was produced. Person deixis involves the speaker's reference to himself, that is, the first person. So, for example, elements such as I and me are typical elements of person deixis, where the speaker refers to himself, or we and us, so the first person singular and plural pronouns. Person deixis also involves the speaker's reference to the addressees, that is, the second person. So this means in terms of English pronouns, you in the singular and you in the plural. And last but not least, we have elements that the speaker uses to refer to other persons and entities. So typically the third person pronouns, he, him, she, her, and we have it, and of course they and them in the plural. Person deixis depends on the speaker as the deictic center. As speakers switch, so does the reference point. For example, if someone called Linda is the speaker, then I, the first person singular, refers to her. And if Paul is the current speaker, then I is the person deictic element relating to him, and so on. Pronoun usage can encode information about the social identities or relationships of the participants in the conversation. This is often called social deixis. For instance, many European languages distinguish between familiar and polite pronouns, often referred to as TV, because in French there's a distinction between tu and vous. And in German, in my mother tongue, we draw a distinction between du and sie, where sie The third person plural is a more polite form. I would certainly address you, my audience, with Sie and would say something like, Ich begrüße Sie, I welcome you. Okay, so much for Persendeixes. Let's now continue with Placedeixes. Locative deictic expressions denote the spatial locations of people and objects relative to the participants in the speech event. Speakers use them for the following purposes. Deictic terms that can be used to identify an entity include, for example, the set of demonstrative determiners such as this and these, or that and those for more remote items. Deictic terms can also be used to inform the addressee about the location of an entity. Speakers typically use locative adverbs such as here and there, or prepositions such as above and below to denote such cases. In some special cases, speakers do not identify or inform by means of locative deictic expressions, but they use them to acknowledge certain locations of an entity. In English, the deictic verbs of motion, come and go, are often used in this respect. So let's first of all write down come and go, and then illustrate this by means of an example. Compare the following two sentences. In the sentence, Paul went into the bedroom, we have to acknowledge that the speaker who utters this sentence was not in the bedroom. Whereas if someone says Paul came into the bedroom, this acknowledges the speaker was in the bedroom himself. Most languages draw a distinction between at least this sort of spatial deictic system. There is a distinction drawn between proximal deictic elements such as here and distal or non-proximal elements such as there. However, many languages carry much more elaborate divisions of space. Spanish, for example, makes a three-term distinction in its spatial deictic system, where English only has two terms. Well, let's look at them here. It's Spanish. Now, in Spanish, we have something like aquí, ahí, and allí, which means something like here, there, and over there. And in English, well, we also have here and there.
Yeah, last week I asked if anyone from Tuscany was here because in the regional Italian spoken in Tuscany, they also have a three-way distinction. And maybe Italians will recognize the words, although they don't use them. I don't use them. Besides questo and quello, they have codesto. So questo means close to me, quello means away from me, and codesto means close to you, but far away from me. Okay.
Yeah? And, well, if you include archaic vocabulary systems of English, archaic words, you might want to add yonder, which is equivalent to over there. So we have here, there, and yonder, also a sort of three-term system in English, if you include archaic versions of English. Let's now look at time deixes. Deictic reference to time involves locating points or intervals on the time axis using the moment of utterance u as a reference point. On the time axis, we can identify several deictic elements. For example, we can identify elements that are used to denote an event that occurred before the moment of utterance, that is, before you. So elements such as before, or yesterday, or last year. Then we have elements that can be used to denote the time of utterance itself. Something like now, today, or even this afternoon. Well, and last but not least, we have elements such as tomorrow or soon, which relate to events that occur after the time of utterance. In a conversation, all participants share the same deictic temporal origin. They all have the same now. In fact, all languages allow the expression of time relative to the act of speaking. The most pervasive means include time adverbials, like the ones given over here, in English now and then, yesterday, this year, and so on, and of course, tense. Let's look at tense for a while. Here I have 3 sentences. Let's relate them to 2 events. The moment where the event occurs, denoted by E, and the moment of utterance, we've already assigned the character U to it. Now, if John wrote the letter, we clearly have an example of past tense use. The moment of the event, that is the event when John actually wrote the letter, precedes the moment of the utterance U. So we have this sort of relationship. E before U. In John is writing the letter, we have the present tense continuous form. The moment of the event E precedes or coincides with the moment of utterance U. So we can denote this relationship by means of U equals or before E. So in these 2 sentences, the speaker's time of utterance serves as the reference time for the deictic use of tense, pointing towards the past and the present respectively. The third utterance, John had written a letter when Linda arrived, uses the third time, R, in the past. The reference time R when Linda actually wrote the letter. And to this event in the past, when Linda wrote the letter, the event E and the event U can be related. Now, in this past perfect construction, the moment of event E precedes the reference time R, and this in turn precedes the moment of the utterance U. While the precedence relation between E and R is non-deictic, it is independent of the speaker's now. There is a deictic temporal relationship between U and R. Let us finally look at discourse deixis. Discourse deixis concerns the use of deictic expressions within an utterance as a form of orientation inside an unfolding discourse in which that utterance is located. The deictic expressions indicate the relation of the utterance to future or past elements of the discourse, or to a conversation or a text. Making reference to portions of the discourse itself can be accomplished by means of time-deictic words such as last as in the last paragraph, or next as in the next chapter. Well, here are 3 examples that illustrate the use of discourse deictic elements. Let's start with this sentence. At this point, it is useful to return to our previous example. Now, this element, this, of course, the discourse element, this, refers to the current portion of the discourse. So let us use or symbolize this by means of this symbol. So it refers to the current portion of the discourse. You will be interested in this problem. We have another case. Now here we have reference to the forthcoming discourse element. Let's use this symbol to denote this use of a discourse deictic element. And in the example, that's the most ridiculous, or take here, ridiculous excuse I've ever heard. Here we refer to a preceding discourse element, so an adequate symbol would be this one. And using a deictic expression, I could now say, that's the end of this e-lecture. I hope my overview...
And why did he say that's the end of this lecture instead of this is the end of that lecture?
This is just an expression.
No.
He just mentioned about that it's happening remotely, so probably towards us, they're a bit far. This is on distance.
No, but thank you for trying. Yes.
Because when he said that the lesson had already ended, so he was referring to that end of the lesson, maybe.
Okay, correct about that. When he said that's the end, he meant the last sentence I just mentioned, I just uttered, that was indeed the end of the lecture. And now I'm saying something else, such as I'm engaging in this kind of small talk. But why did he say this lecture and not that lecture?
Because it is still on the screen.
Because he's still talking. And although engaging in small talk, the time of interaction with the audience is not over. Too bad I said this, I could have used it in one of my tests, but okay. All right. So I think you had a nice recap of the key concepts here. And let's go back to where were we here? Because I give you things to do, to optionally do, such as reflecting on these issues and also doing one of these things for fieldwork. And just in case at least some of you did that, I will give you a few minutes to report to each other about what you did. Maybe about what you read, I don't know. You can go back to slides, the last slides from last time, and if there is anything that you did, this is the time to tell each other. So I'll give you maybe 5 minutes or a little bit more, and I'll be walking around and see how it goes. You know, it depends on what you do. Maybe there are things that you can also do on the spot, but when it comes to field work, well, no, you must have done it before, okay, and before now. Okay, I'll leave this slide on. And if I hear complete silence, then I know that there's nothing really to talk about. So you choose what you talk about, okay, depending on what you did or did not.
Seminario.
我已经起了意思哈，而且你们下会儿要不要那个的时候我给你们说一声哈。
这个要注册吧？要报名吧？
不用报名，他只是要
打满就行了。
就是1年他要就是他
要满足好多个30多个小时，36嘛。
一次只有2个小时。
对，是要听18次。
对头，你们不晓得呀？
我们晓得，但是我们准备明年再弄这个。
但是他一说明年就是你准备是工作。
或者下学期。
弄不完。
弄不完。
好像是。
他这个要听好多个。
不，他那个他其实没得啥子责，都是你中午吃饭的时候，你可以边拿着东西去吃，然后边听，然后都是反正他都帮你签个字都得行了。
他要需要听好多个。
那些
30多个小时，可能16、18，一学期好多个啊？
一学期好像只有6个嘛，几个？要不然下次大概
3、6、4吧。
要不然下次就是相当于就是说累的话，好像要每一次都去，然后才那个弄得慢。要不然我下回他们去的时候我不太。
OK，
我操，我不想现在这，我还想适应一下。
而且上会儿那个讨论的像事情打架一样。
我操，打架一样。
啥子
？83个，这是第3个。Do our interlocutors use this as why? What would happen? Don't you know different ones? 我是 iPhone 15全系跳水，降了1000了。
那也是在国内吧？
对啊，
在欧洲。
你还能给你运吗？我是已经开始降价了。Asymmetric 不平衡的关系是决定What does it literally mean? Provide semantic clarifiers. Convention. 他现在在移民局是吧？操，那个能不能问哪些保险可以弄？29，你10月26，我11月29。有个在网上买的在线的。对，就是如果你用国内的那种很贵的保险也是可以用，但是还是要看每个警察局的。不，这个我就不太，我就就是你是问那个给你按手的那个工作人员吗？直接问他，还是问门口那些人？
我直接问工作人员。
就直接给你办事的那个，你相当于警察。OK。
不然我问哪个呀？我问外头那个保安叔叔。
对，因为外头保安对他啥都不晓得，我跑过2趟了。
你问他，他都是只晓得你先拿号码，拿号，然后你再去问工作人员嘛。
对。
或者帮你带个路嘛，只能做的。
有个在线买的，我忘了什么名字了。他是从你买的这天开始往后推365天，他就不是年底结束，以前是可以的，不晓得现在可不可以。对，每个地方都不一样。我之前买的那个50多块钱一年，照样续了1年。这个那个 Post 的那个保险要149嘛。
那你们2个是好久
？11月，他是13，我是29，我们同一天结的，我比他晚了半个多月。
They use.
Okay. Stop here. Let's see if someone has something to say that they would like to share with everyone. Maybe questions. Yes, John.
I try to avoid I don't do the feigning social inadequacy.
Oh,
tasks.
the field work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tried to do it once and it was like an awkward situation, so I said, okay.
Sorry, what situation? I didn't hear.
It was an awkward situation.
Oh, awkward. Okay.
Yeah, it was a bit strange, so I said, okay, I'm not going to actually try that.
Okay, was it with a superior maybe?
No, it
with a
was with my
stranger?
girlfriend, and she looked at me weird, and like she just arrived home, like we hadn't seen each other in a week, and she arrived home, and I started treating her like a guest, and then I just stopped. I just went back to normal, saying, oh hi, darling, hello.
Yeah, don't sue me for ruining your relationship. Okay. But after doing that and noticing that things were not going well, did you debrief her?
No.
That's unfair. That's really unfair.
I forgot that part.
Yeah, so she still thinks that there's something weird about you. There was something weird about you. No, sorry, maybe it's my fault because I didn't tell you. One, if you do anything of that sort, you did it. You should always debrief the other person afterwards, because if you don't, then it means that you're not on an equal standing in your interaction, that you're treating the other person as a subject in an experiment and not your equal. So you have to tell them, sorry that I did that, but I really wanted to have your spontaneous reaction. That was a task for one of my classes. I won't do it again, and let's go out and have coffee, something like that. You want people's reactions not to be affected by your intentions, but you don't want to keep them in the dark afterwards. Okay. So, please remember, you and everyone. Okay. Anyone else who wants to share whatever they did or thought about? There are quite a few non-native speakers of Italian here, so I would like to ask one Italian speaker instead to tell us what ti saluto means.
It's like saying goodbye.
Ti saluto is like saying goodbye. So it is similar to saying goodbye, okay? Yes, your name again?
It's Elisa.
Elisa, okay. Anything, thank you. Any alternatives?
Maybe you could use it.
Yes.
You could use it in different language. For example, at the end of an email.
I'm sorry, in what language? In
Italian.
Yeah, no, but I didn't hear the word.
In written language.
Okay, okay.
For example, at the end of an email, ti saluto, maybe if you are speaking informally.
Okay. But then why ti saluto instead of arrivederci, ciao? When do we choose to say ti saluto?
It's an informal way.
It's informal, okay.
Also, when we don't see the other person, like also on the phone or in a letter.
Okay, when you're on the phone, so when you're not face to face with the other person. Okay. I partly disagree because I hear people using it even when they are one in front of the other. Yes.
It's like preparing the other for your next action, which is leaving.
It's warning the other person. Yeah. Well, but then whenever we say goodbye, we're also doing things. So say goodbye, so you know this is the end. Well, imagine you have to instruct a non-Italian how to use ti saluto. What does it literally mean? What may it literally mean versus when is it used?
When you know well the person.
Okay. When you know a person very well. Okay. That's because of the ti saluto. But could we also say la saluto, vi saluto, using a different pronoun? And the same formula? Yes. Was there a hand over there? No. Ti saluto piena di grazia. I know, that's a prayer addressed to Mary, the mother of Jesus. And it does not mean goodbye, Mary, because it's the very beginning of the prayer. It means the opposite. What does it mean? It means Hail Mary. You know, in Hail Mary, it means hello Mary. Salutare in Italian is ambiguous between I'm greeting you, you know, this is the opening of the interaction, and I'm taking my leave, this is the end of the interaction. That's one thing. But when we say ti saluto, except for this frozen expression, you know, similar to Hail Mary, we never mean I'm starting interaction. We always mean I'm closing the interaction. That's one difference from the literal meaning, which is ambiguous, and the conventional meaning, which is specialized for taking one's leave. But it's more than that. If people say or write to me, ti saluto, la saluto, vi saluto, if I'm, you know, together with someone, I always perceive it as rude, but I don't perceive it as rude when they say goodbye, see you, until next time. Yes?
Could mean, like in Italian, if you say ciao, I'm like in the sense of I'm going away now, the person can like continue talking and maybe still have to stay there for another 5 minutes. But if you say ti saluto, it means that's it. I'm going. Do not continue speaking to me.
Yeah, that's it. Because the way in which Italians use ti saluto is to close the conversation without giving you time to reply, not even with a, you know, bye-bye back to you. Because if they say, I have to go, goodbye, you say, oh, you know, I'm sorry, well, goodbye. But if they say ti saluto, it means I'm closing the conversation, I don't expect a reply from you, and maybe I have good reasons to do that. You know, maybe I'm late for the train or whatever. But I close the interaction, we are not closing it. This is the result of my long experience of observing people, talking to me, talking to others. Whenever, especially films, whenever people say vi saluto, that's the end of the conversation, and it's a single-handed interruption or conclusion of the interaction. Yes. So remember that speaker meaning, or sorry, conventional meaning is different from literal meaning. Yes.
And when it comes to romantic relationships, it's funny because in our case, I don't know, in the culture, we never say...
there is a deictic there. Our case? Who's
our
me?
case, I'm talking about me and Shahrzad, we're Iranians.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, but you see, without a reference point...
Yeah.
In your Iranian
I don't know
case,
if it is global or it is
We'll
just...
find out.
Yeah. Whenever you want to say goodbye to your partner, you don't say goodbye.
Sorry, do you mean goodbye for good or goodbye for the day?
No, for the time being. I mean for the night. You don't say goodbye.
And you're seeing each other like the following day.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah.
You're like love you, and that's the end of the conversation. We never say goodbye.
Because if you did,
it's like I hate you. Goodbye, go to hell. Yeah.
Well, what does the word goodbye, the equivalent of goodbye, literally mean in your language?
Goodbye is goodbye. I mean, I'm talking about the feeling it gives, right? I'm not talking about literal meaning or the connotation or whatever. Yeah, goodbye means goodbye. Okay. You can say goodbye to your partner, but it's cold, you know.
Who can you say goodbye to without causing trouble?
Everyone.
Everyone else.
Even your partner, you can say that. But especially if you're a girl and your partner is saying goodbye, do you agree with me?
Maybe you don't have the same partner.
Yeah. Because I'm offended if my partner says goodbye to me.
Oh, just like me, when I hear, ti saluto. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, well, that could be a good research paper. Okay. Anything else to report? No? All right. So let me introduce you to the new topic. which is inferences, and this is really just an introduction because we will get started with the specific details tomorrow. So the next topic is implied meanings and inferences. We already did that. An inference is exactly what you see here. It is the process of retrieving a unit of information from what you hear or you read from another person that also takes into consideration background information that is not explicitly conveyed. So it is a very good, a very plausible guess about the complete meaning that a person wants to convey that relies on your understanding of words and structures that are being exchanged, but also on some background knowledge or contextual information. The term comes from Latin, and it means to bring in this case, to bring in extra information, so as to reconstruct, derive, retrieve new meanings. An inference is what the addressee makes, is what the addressee elaborates, whether he or she does that consciously or unconsciously, while the implied meaning is what the speaker conveys. Conveying implied meaning and therefore making inferences about them and retrieving them is, as in the case of deixis, is very efficient because more content is conveyed with less, in less time and with less effort. But it is also a bit challenging for the addressee because you have to do extra work. Not everything is spelled out, and some things you have to figure out on your own. And in this process of figuring them out, you may make mistakes. If we think back to my very first lecture on how we can approach the topics discussed, covered in this course, we see here that the sender is in charge of conveying meanings, including implied meanings, and the addressee is in charge of retrieving them by being or becoming a little bit more resourceful. Implied meanings is the subtext of a text, the underlying message that we can perceive between the lines. And it is one of the fields in which we notice that communication involves much more than dictionary meaning or grammatical meaning. If we understand the mechanisms on the basis of which we successfully or unsuccessfully retrieve implied meanings, we can also gauge how cognitively developed people are and how good they are as readers and addressees at understanding others. There are various types of inferences because there are various types of implied meanings that can be conveyed, and each one brings its own challenges. Sometimes implied meanings are part of the very meaning of words, but they are kind of embedded in them. They are hidden behind the meanings. So, for example, stop eating raw food, you may get food poisoning. Now, we see the word stop, and we understand, just from the very fact that this word is used, that the action of eating seafood is a current habit of our addressee. If we hear the expression, the hunter killed the hare, we understand necessarily that because of the word kill, the hare used to be alive and now is dead. There are meanings that are intended by the speaker in addition to the literal meaning. Can you open the door? Really? You don't have your hands tied? You're not under an obligation to leave things as they are? You have no impediments? Okay, then go ahead and open it. And there are those intended by the speaker that are to be understood as alternative to the literal meaning. That lawyer is a shark. Well, no, that lawyer is not a shark. That lawyer is a man, a woman, but he or she is aggressive, just like a shark. And then we have those meanings that are left totally hidden from view, let's say, and that we can infer only if we know something about the context. Can you open the door? What does it mean? Or rather, what does it leave unexpressed? Because I'm carrying heavy bags, I cannot do that on my own. Or because it's easier for you and I'm expecting someone to come in any time now. So these and other kinds of implied meanings are retrievable through inferences that are mental operations, conscious or unconscious. Oftentimes they are automatic and therefore unconscious, that allow us to fill in gaps in the sender's message. Now, oh, sorry, I don't know why this was not supposed to be here. But okay, repeating things doesn't hurt. So when we have meanings that are implied in the sense that they are part of the very explicit meanings of words, except they don't come to the surface of the message, they act as a taken for granted starting point for the message itself. And we call these presuppositions. Sometimes implied meanings that are hidden in the very words and structures that make up a message are not their presuppositions, their starting point, but rather entailments. They are obvious logical conclusions, but still they are left unexpressed. Sometimes we have implied meanings that are part of our background knowledge, background experience. And this occurs when we leave out information that we think the addressee can easily recover because they're familiar with the given types of situations or types of events. And the technical term is frames and scripts. And then when we talk about quote-unquote invisible meaning, the meaning that we cannot recover in any way just from listening to or reading the words, but rather we have to know something from context, then we're dealing with conversational implicatures. And we will deal with all of these starting tomorrow, one at a time. Miscommunication may of course happen, which is something I hinted at just a few minutes ago, when implied meanings are part of, are derived, are based on our background experience, and our experience is different from that of our interactants. Or when we are part of the same situation and there is no cultural difference, but still we are unaware of which specific situational variable are salient at that very moment for that person who utters that particular expression. Okay, now I would like to do a little activity. Okay, it's in Italian, but okay, we have the translation. The mother says, Miguelito, the cliff, careful for God's sake. And Miguelito says, is it going to break? No. What does the mother conventionally mean? And what does the son, Miguelito, conventionally mean? And how do we know? Think about these questions with your partner, and then I would like you to write your answers on Moodle. So don't just think about this on your own, but tell someone, because you will be forced to make your thoughts explicit, and you yourself will be able to realize if they indeed make sense or not.
The mom says...
Okay, I will go to Woodland now, hopefully.
Allegedly, for the love of God. over. Denemiz دوباره میخواد 2000 تا نکته بگه در آقا بگو من داشتم نیم watch out for God's sake, God doesn't care. Convention, you are really worried, name God.
Okay, and when you're ready, start writing your answers. So the mother says, watch out, no. Careful. For God, Miguelito, please careful for God's sake.
哦，给个解释。Love CLAP。
Why doesn't she say careful? Why doesn't she say careful for God's sake? Because the mother cares. And she's like too worried to include for God's sake. And when you're like angry, you use the expression.
You don't want to say to write anything then? Are you undecided? This one? Oh, the slide, sorry.
他关了。
We are kicked out.
Well, that's because I had to show you this, you know. Okay.
你妈。跟我想一下，他那个儿子是啥意思啊？他儿子
在他妈妈的思路里面，其实就是那个悬崖不会裂开，他可能会掉下去，他很担心。但是他儿子的角度，他儿子以为是那个悬崖会裂开了。
And do you know why this is what the woman means? Oops, sorry. Sorry. Okay, background knowledge is a bit vague. I'm not saying it's wrong, it's just vague. Okay, this is more specific. Parents care about the children's safety. Yeah, worried about his child's safety. And everyone says, you know, it's dangerous, you might fall. Well, it depends on which specific picture you're considering. She's being a mother. Okay. I think we understand, but it's also a bit vague. But I think precisely because, you know, we all have had a mother or have a mother, that we know what this means. Okay, let's move on to the other question. The child knows what her mother means. This is interesting. And it's relevant to the other question, what does the sun mean and how do we know? The sun says, is it going to break? Yeah, but if I show you, then you won't be able to do anything.
那个单词打对上。
这是他儿子的名字。
Which picture is it? Is it gonna break?
What, this is where he says, is it going to break? Here, he's silent. He just looks down the cliff. And the mother is far away. We just hear the voice. We just see every part of her voice. The mother is far away. Okay? Let's see. Okay. Here. So mom always yells at him at home because he's always breaking stuff. Very likely. I don't think he's being sarcastic. No, that's an honest question. He thinks the danger is threatening the cliff because he's asking about the cliff and not himself. He doesn't know that what a cliff is. Thinks that it could be a toy that can be broken. Well, he's in danger. He's at the edge of the cliff. He takes what his mother said too literally, rather than the way he typically does. I don't understand why he's so worried. Okay, he might be naive. Maybe he didn't understand that it's dangerous because he asked if the cliff is going to break. Yeah, that's the source of humor. Whenever I have to move back to the slides, when somebody asks me to share the slide, then it's not working. Okay, so now I will go back to the slides, okay? And so you don't need to write anything anymore. Here we are again. And so, you got it right. So, what the mother is, okay, watch out, be careful, you know, you might get hurt. Don't hurt yourself. But Miguelito understands what the mother is saying, not that way. He understands it as, do not cause any harm to the cliff. And why is this the case? Well, on the basis of our experience as children, but also watching mothers around us, we know that and expect mothers to watch out for the children's safety if they could be in danger. And we know that children are not necessarily aware of danger, and that's why indeed adults are there to protect them. But Miguelito is, if the mother has been a mother, then Miguelito is being a little boy, and he has often been reprimanded on other occasions about avoiding causing harm to others, individuals as well as objects, maybe toys. And the way in which he is told not to cause damage to others is by means of those words. Watch out, for God's sake. Don't play, you know, with the Ming vase in the living room because it would break, you know, or it might break. And so they are applying different interpretive frames for the same situation. Miguelito relies on his knowledge of the world. You know, whenever my mom says, don't, for God's sake, it's because what I do would cause harm. But this time the mother is saying don't for another reason. This is similar to another example I gave you some time ago about the US child being taken care of by a Latina babysitter who says, go ahead, break the toy, and who doesn't understand that it is not meant literally, but it is meant as a challenge, something that is not typically done in the US. So we see that these orders issued by the mother can be interpreted in different ways depending on the background interpretation that one selects. Okay, now recall an interaction or episode when miscommunication occurred. Some interaction that you took part in, or one that you were a witness to, and say what went wrong, and why, and what remedial steps were taken. Maybe the reason was not something like hidden meanings, implied meanings, unshared background knowledge, maybe it was something else, but it is likely to have been indeed unshared knowledge and expectations. It may be something that you watched in a film, something that you overheard while you were waiting for the train, the bus, whatever. If you use public transportation, as I do, you'll notice that people don't mind, speaking, in a loud voice, and you hear the most wonderful things. Well, they're not wonderful technically in terms of content, but they're the most amazing, and you have lots of examples relevant to pragmatics. I find it hard to refrain from taking notes when I hear people speaking, because it looks like I'm being a spy. I try to remember, then I don't always remember, but I find it really fascinating. Okay, recall one instance of miscommunication. Tell your partner and think of what the reason might have been.
他是喊你重新再举个例子嘛？有啥例子？
你想啊？
啥例子？
是的，你们想还有没有啥子例子？让我理解一下。
我先搜一下这个词具体是啥子意思？我先搜下。
那个我搜了的，语音错误。
他真的要
错误传达。我反正想的就是，反正对我们来说就是就是我要来找你，我还没有到，然后我就跟说我到了，然后这个就如果就是不晓得的人，然后我自己到了，他就马上来，但是实际上我可能才刚出门，这个是可能是
快到了，我可能还有几分钟到了。
对，我觉得这个可能就是一个地方的人有一个地方的那个习惯。
就是比如说你手比较摸。
对，但也没有，就比如说就出去吃饭，在聚餐啥子的，拿个催我，到了没有？我说在楼底下了，实际上我才上地铁啊啥子。
你们下一个是啥时候呀？
目的地轨是。
你们是下午
啊，你要上那个。
干的。我觉得那个老师好，而且他们说的很忙，他会照顾我那种听得非常
人多吧？考试是怎么考？
考试都是你先写个论文，然后再读。先写论文，然后给他打稿。但是他会研究。
我操，还有这种？
啊，
我算了吧。
但是就是那个老师他人很好，而且上回我还就是喊他把 PPT， 我说能不能传到，他就传了。
哇，可以。
可以考虑。
是吧？是不是？
积累，然后就是你们那里修的啥子课呀？
就4门。
除了主课，你们还修了
multilinguism吗？
然后
西班牙语。
大一怎么样？
你还上吗？我是一听说西语课我就不准备上了，还想坚持一下，但是 我们
那个咖喱不是以后有机会可以考一下咖喱，
下学期
我觉得比较好。因为就是虽然就是学的人不多嘛，而且可能是那个讲的比较枯燥，感觉就是那个像那种那个可能可以突击的，
有啥子？
可能可以突击的。就是他讲思想学那个，而且论文他们就是还他们上的比较好写，然后就是问根据你的论文来问问题，不会太难，而且就是问你问题也可能在 PPT 上面之类的，而且老师把啥子 PDF 都可以帮他要，我都给他要。
他发到那个上头了哇，已经，他已经发到那个高头了。要是给我看一下，在那个米豆嘛。
我去找一下给你看。那个老师
下课呀！
就是像那个地方用啥子音乐，那个地方用啥子音乐，就那个
I would like to show you one more short video, and then we will end.
最好了。